in association with Boxer. Delighted to be joined by Steve, Big Daddy Bunce, I feel like calling you.
Well, that's what people call me. I got that name came to me from Glyn Leach, former editor of Boxing Monthly. And it was completely unannounced. The first column I did for him, which was about 20 years ago, he suddenly stuck Big Daddy Bunce in. I have no idea why. We'd never discussed it, and it sort of stuck. Then someone set me up on Twitter, and they used the same thing, so it stuck. And some people go, "God, fancy calling yourself Big Daddy Bunce," and I'm tired of telling people. I didn't. Other people did. It fits though. When I was a bit fatter, it fit. Now I've lost a bit of weight. Anyway.
Looking well, Buncey, and I appreciate you giving me some time because I know you don't really do interviews, so I appreciate you speaking to Boxing King Media. I want to talk to you about the biggest news that's hitting the boxing world. No one knows whether it's 100% on or not, but speaking to different parties, I spoke to Abdullah from Skills Challenge yesterday, and he's confirmed that they are speaking to all the four heavyweights, USYK, Wilder. Do you think they'll be able to pull this off?
Well, we know they've got the money to do it, and we know that November and December were the dates that they wanted the Usyk and Fury fight to take place, which is why one of the reasons why it collapsed is that the Saudi money and the Saudi dates didn't correspond with what Usyk or Fury wanted. So we know there's a way, we know there's the money, we know there are venues, and if you have the way and the money, and especially the money and the venues, and it's a long way off. We're not talking here about fights in May and June. We're talking here about fights, as far as I understand it, in November and December. The four people probably will be the four you imagine. The permutations could change. One or two of those could change, if assuming they fight or don't fight. Who knows? Anything could happen. Look at Joe Joyce's eye the other day. Usyk could beat anybody in the world, but end up with an eye like that and damaged socket, and suddenly that puts in doubt what happens. Do I think it will happen? I think something along those lines will happen. Do I think it'll be as simple as two semi-finals and a final? Hey ho, stranger things have happened.
It's definitely not a tournament, because I asked him that. It's definitely not a tournament. It's two fights on one card.
You know what? Two fights on one card. Absolutely. I mean, if the Saudi method of operating is to blockbuster everything, so that makes all the sense in the world. Get them on the same bill, and of course, then the two winners will inevitably talk about fighting each other. Could it happen? Could it? Tyson Fury's talking about fighting, doing something soon. Wilder also talking about fighting. Usyk and Dubois, we know whatever stage that's in. It's got until May the 2nd before it goes out to purse bids. It's fluid. If Joe Joyce had won in devastating fashion against Zhilei Zhang, then he would be pushing to be included in this dialogue, and 5 is a different number to 4. But right now, with those 4 in the pattern we think they're going to fight, yeah, could it happen? Absolutely, could it happen? But we have to remember, one promoter saying, and one TV station, or two TV stations, or two promoters saying, I want to make this fight and I want to make it then. That's very different to, I've made this fight and it's going to happen then. It's very, very different.
There was an interesting argument, because I saw, when I spoke to Abdullah, I said to him that would AJ be allowed to have an interim fight, because the plan was for him to fight in July again, and he basically said that it was their decision, they would allow it. However, he would have to look good and he would have to win in proper fashion. They can't. He kind of alluded to the fact that they won't be interested in staging that event, making him part of it, if he didn't win convincingly.
Yeah, I mean, and that's understandable. I mean, the Jermaine Franklin fight divided people, not the people that hate AJ, because they hate AJ irrespective of what he did, but it divided people that are maybe that don't maybe hate AJ as much. Some people said that's got him the rounds, he needed the rounds. Other people said he should have done this, he should have done that, he should have stepped on the gas. Where is the old AJ? Well, before that, in the build-up to that fight, I sort of came up with the idea that the old AJ's gone. He's never coming back. He's absolutely gone. It's like you've lost a dog in the park. He ain't coming back. You can go out and buy the same greyhound, no problem, with the same colouring, but the one you lost is gone, and that's like AJ. He is gone. That man is never, ever coming back. What we have now is a slightly more mobile, slightly more thoughtful, certainly more cautious heavyweight. But it's a different heavyweight. Same name, same body, same everything, same history, but a totally different fighter. That old one has gone. Now, if the new AJ adds one or two things to his game, which seems to me to be Derek James's vision for him, is that he makes him a slightly more aggressive, but still smart heavyweight. That heavyweight becomes a decent heavyweight, by the way. Let's not dismiss that. Most of the criticism is based about, oh, he's gone, he's lost it. Well, that heavyweight has gone. We have a new heavyweight now. And I can understand the Saudis being reluctant to have AJ in another safety-first 12-rounder against someone that half the people in boxing say shouldn't be in the ring anyway. I can understand that completely and totally.
People suggested similar sort of things about Wilder, saying the two losses to Fury, especially the last two, would have mentally affected him. Do you think he's affected by them losses based on his last performance? And the follow-up question to that, if the Wilder AJ fight does get made, who's going in as a favourite into that?
Listen, if the Wilder can still do what Wilder does. We haven't seen any suggestion that Wilder has suffered from the last two fights with Tyson Fury. We can speculate that he's suffered. We can be concerned about what he's got left and whether he's left stuff behind and whether he'd be willing to go into the trenches again. So going into the Wilder and AJ fight, that's a fight, and I often say this, and I've been saying this for years and years, I'd like to see them in the week of the fight. Not necessarily in hard sparring sessions 6 weeks before or 4 weeks before, but in the week of the fight. Just try and get an understanding, a grasp. Deontay Wilder was shot to bits the week in Las Vegas, absolutely shot to bits. Anthony Joshua was not on planet Earth the week in Saudi last summer. He was not with us, okay? So if I were to see either of those two, that emerge, that either of those two act in the way they acted before those two fights, then perhaps you would change judgment. Right now, I think it's a bigger free-for-all than people imagine. People seem to have this idea that Wilder sets him up with a big right hand and takes him out clean. I don't see that happening. I really don't. It might happen. I just don't see that happening as the given result.
Is it a 3-round fight?
Well, it could be a 3-round fight, yeah. I mean, also, it's ridiculous to imagine that AJ getting caught, getting hurt, and then catching Wilder as he comes in won't hurt Wilder. Of course it will hurt Wilder. If Fury's sending Wilder down, if AJ gets wobbled and caught and hurt, unless he's down, he's going to be throwing shots instinctively. Wilder could easily walk onto one of those. It's that simple. And then what happens then? Fury, if Wilder loses to AJ, okay, it's all because Wilder's shot to bits, okay? If Wilder beats AJ, it's all because AJ's shot to bits. How demoralising must that be? Knowing you're going to train for 12 weeks and win or lose, a major majority of people that follow boxing are going to criticise you. It's a staggering business.
Last question. Who do you think Fury's going to fight next? If it's not the Saudi tournament.
Who's Fury?
Come out today and said it.
Fury's insisting he's fighting today. But if you go off, if you stop interviewing me now, sit down there, get your laptop out, get your phone out. How many announcements of a fight will you find for Fury in the last 5 years? 10, 15, 20, 25, 30? At least 30. For God's sake. So, do I think he's going to announce Luis Ortiz or Frankie Sanchez or Otto Wallin? He might announce Otto Wallin. If I'm Fury, the most simple fight in the world, and one that we couldn't even think about before the first bell of the Joyce and Zhang fight, is Zhang. Zilal Zhang. He just bashed up Joe Joyce. Fury can go out and get redemption for his great friend Joe Joyce, a guy he holds in high esteem. It's a beast v the beast. It's the man mountain v the other man mountain. It'd be a beautiful fight. One of the simplest fights to sell in the world. And, Fury that we know, I think, would win that comfortably. That makes all the sense in the world if Fury's going to have a fight. Unless, of course, he's announcing a WWE thing, unless he's announcing Who knows what? He might be announcing a fishing tournament. He might be announcing, canal boat racing. You don't know. But I know one thing. He's told us, he's put us on warning since June the 10th, 2020, thousands and thousands of times. And that's not me exaggerating. It is in the high hundreds.
Steve Bunce, appreciate your time, brother. Thank you very much.